The world has always been chaotic, shaped by wars, revolutions, and financial collapses that wiped out fortunes overnight. Entire empires have risen and fallen, yet one family has repeatedly defied history itself. Every war, every crisis, every global upheaval only made them stronger and wealthier. While governments crumbled and markets evaporated, they quietly moved, adapted, and multiplied their wealth in ways most people could never imagine. What is it about this family that allows them to survive catastrophes that destroy everyone else? Their story is not just about money. It is about strategy, foresight, and an almost uncanny understanding of human nature and global systems. Today, we will uncover the hidden patterns, the decisions made behind closed doors, and the audacious maneuvers that turned chaos into opportunity. This is a journey through centuries of conflict and fortune, revealing lessons not only about surviving crises, but about thriving when the world expects you to fail. By the end, you will see wealth and power from a perspective few ever witness, understanding how the invisible currents of history are navigated by those who refuse to be touched by its storms. The story begins in a time when Europe was a patchwork of small kingdoms, fragile economies, and constant conflict. In this volatile environment, one family emerged, not by chance, but through an acute understanding of commerce, politics, and human behavior. They were not the loudest or the most conspicuous, yet their influence grew steadily, silently, like an undercurrent shaping everything around them. While merchants went bankrupt and nobles lost entire estates to war, they positioned themselves in industries that would always endure, learning to anticipate crises before they struck. Their first major test came during a regional conflict that destroyed countless fortunes. Many saw chaos, but they saw opportunity. By moving assets discreetly, diversifying holdings across borders, and leveraging emerging markets, they not only survived, but secured positions that would guarantee long-term growth. This was their first lesson in resilience. Wealth is not merely accumulation. It is the ability to act decisively when others panic, to remain calm when the world is unraveling. This principle would guide them through centuries, forming the foundation for a dynasty built on strategy, foresight, and an almost preternatural ability to turn every setback into a stepping stone for greater power. As the world moved into larger and more destructive wars, the stakes escalated. Governments collapsed, economies froze, and the ordinary citizen faced ruin. Yet this family seemed untouched by the chaos. They had already mastered a network of alliances, both public and secret, that allowed them to maneuver while others were trapped. They invested in assets that most overlooked, understanding that value is not always in plain sight. While empires consumed themselves in conflict, they positioned themselves in critical industries, banking, manufacturing, and emerging global trade, ensuring that every upheaval increased their influence. This pattern repeated with astonishing consistency. Each war tested them, but instead of shrinking, their fortune expanded. They learned to exploit instability without drawing attention, turning secrecy into an advantage as vital as gold. The lesson became clear. Survival in times of extreme crisis requires invisibility, intelligence, and patience, a combination that few can master, but that defines true power in the long term. The 20th century brought unprecedented global conflict, yet the family's strategies evolved in lockstep with the changing world. During World War I, nations collapsed under debt, inflation soared, and countless fortunes disappeared. While ordinary investors panicked, they leveraged international networks to move capital safely across borders. They funded essential industries quietly, gaining influence over supply chains while remaining legally untouchable. By the time the war ended, their wealth had not only survived, it had multiplied. They learned to read patterns in human behavior and market psychology, predicting crises before they became obvious. This foresight was not luck, but a cultivated skill, understanding who will panic, who will act irrationally, and where the real opportunities lie. They developed a mindset, where every risk was weighed against the potential for strategic gain, turning disasters into opportunities and cementing a legacy that few could even comprehend. World War II presented an even greater challenge, with destruction on a scale never seen before. Borders shifted overnight, entire industries were nationalized or obliterated, and millions lost everything. Yet the family anticipated much of the turmoil. Their holdings were diversified globally, and their influence allowed them to operate in regions untouched by the main theaters of war. They engaged in what most would call unconventional methods, strategic partnerships, discreet acquisitions, and sometimes politically sensitive maneuvers. Each decision was precise, calculated, and designed to ensure that when the dust settled, they would emerge not merely intact, but significantly stronger. Their survival was a lesson in adaptability. Those who cannot adjust to the world's chaos perish, but those who can thrive beyond imagination. History often remembers the fallen empires, yet the real story is of the unseen hands that endure, shaping the aftermath to their advantage. Post-war reconstruction offered yet another chance for growth. While entire economies struggled to rebuild, this family capitalized on emerging markets, industrial recovery, and the formation of global financial systems. Their early moves in banking and trade placed them at the center of wealth creation. Unlike others who sought immediate profit, they focused on influence and control, understanding that true power comes from shaping the rules rather than following them. They became advisors, financiers, and silent partners in ventures that would define nations' recoveries. Each strategic investment reinforced their resilience and expanded their reach. The psychological advantage they held was profound. Having survived the worst, they projected confidence and inevitability, attracting opportunities and alliances that others could not even see. By mastering patience, discretion, and foresight, they turned a post-war world of uncertainty into a landscape of unmatched advantage. Throughout the latter half of the 20th century, the family faced financial crises, inflation, and political upheavals in every region of the globe. Yet their approach remained consistent: anticipate, diversify, and maintain discretion. They understood the human tendency to panic and the predictable cycles of markets and politics. By positioning themselves ahead of crisis and behind the scenes of growth opportunities, they could capitalize while others struggled to recover. Their ability to stay informed, maintain control of key assets, and predict shifts in economic policy became their most valuable tool. Each generation learned these principles and applied them with increasing sophistication, ensuring that the family's legacy was not dependent on luck, but on an enduring system of strategic intelligence. Survival had become growth, and growth had become a self-reinforcing cycle of power and wealth. Today, the family's influence is global, though largely invisible. They continue to operate in sectors that define economies, quietly shaping markets while remaining almost completely untouchable. Their story is not just one of wealth, but of psychology, strategy, and an understanding of human systems that few possess. They demonstrate that fortune is not about accumulation alone. It is about timing, secrecy, alliances, and the ability to foresee the unseen. By studying their methods, we gain insight not only into wealth, but into resilience, decision-making, and the structures that determine who thrives when chaos strikes. The principles they embody, adaptability, foresight, patience, and strategic discretion, remain timeless, offering lessons that are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. Understanding their approach provides not only a window into the past, but also a blueprint for navigating the uncertain world we live in. Their story challenges our perception of risk, failure, and opportunity. While ordinary individuals and entire nations are consumed by crisis, this family turns turmoil into a ladder for growth. Every historical event tested them, yet they found patterns that allowed them to remain ahead, turning disasters into wealth and chaos into control. Their approach blends logic with intuition, risk with calculated restraint, secrecy with influence, and patience with decisive action. It is a reminder that in every catastrophic moment, there are hidden opportunities for those who can see them and the courage to act. By studying the mechanisms they used, we not only understand how immense fortunes survive across centuries, but also gain perspective on how knowledge, strategy, and psychological insight can protect and multiply value in ways the world often overlooks. The lessons of this family go beyond finance. They are lessons in foresight, resilience, and mastery over circumstance. They teach that wealth is fragile unless it is accompanied by strategy, discretion, and deep understanding of global systems. They demonstrate that crises are not merely threats, but opportunities when approached with knowledge and precision. In every war, every collapse, and every upheaval, they navigated complexity with skill, patience, and audacity. Their enduring success is proof that power is not always visible, and that the greatest fortunes are often hidden behind the scenes of history, untouched by the chaos that consumes the world around them. The family's legacy is a masterclass in survival, influence, and strategic intelligence, offering timeless insight into the forces that shape wealth, power, and resilience.